of Como, and there's a very special piece on the front porch people can relate to. Yes, people have lava lamps in their own.
I love that.
Exact replica of the key that was given to us, or of our big Como key, and are accurate working on, as you can see by this.
Questions, and we'll get to them. But with that, I would like to say hello to Dr. Annette Scheel. She is the Executive Manager of Collections and Cultural Projects. She's an author, she's a curator, she's a historian with a background in the arts and crafts. She's also into pop culture, and she is going to be taking us on this wonderful tour. So I would like to first and foremost say thank you to you and everyone at Como House and the National Trust for being here and hosting this and sharing your wonderful exhibition with us. We're so thrilled you're doing this for us, and we cannot wait to get to it. So thank you so much. And with that, take it away.
Thank you, Darren. Good morning, everybody. Morning for us, evening for many other people. I've got my curatorial gloves on, not blue hands, but could I welcome you to Como House and Garden. First and foremost, though, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the lands of the Wurundjeri people, and we acknowledge that they are the traditional owners. And I pay my respects to their elders past and present. Welcome to Como. This is the beginnings of our Dollhouse and Miniature exhibition. Como House is like a life-size dollhouse, and it was the starting point for this entire exhibition. We're going to take you through now. We're so pleased to have you join us. It's a gorgeous exhibition filled with wonderful, wonderful miniature things, fantastic artisans. It's been a treat and an absolute pleasure to curate this show, and I think you'll all enjoy it. So if we come through now, I'm going to show you some of the highlights. It's a very big show, but let's get started. Thanks all. Look at the miniature door. We've got our starting point is a miniature door. This is a replica of our Como front door. And the premise of the show is, are we in a dollhouse? Are we the dolls? Are we looking at dollhouses? We also have dollhouses within dollhouses. I really don't need to talk about how wonderful miniatures are because I know all of you are great enthusiasts, but we'll come on here. This key that we're looking at now was given to the National Trust when the house, the big house, a life-size dollhouse, was bequeathed to the National Trust. And I'd like you now to have a look at our most wonderful model here built by Emily Boutard. We have a dollhouse of Como, and there's a very special piece on the front porch. When Como was brought in and given to us, and I know you've spoken to Emily before, she bequeathed me a very special thing and said, I'm now handing you the keys to the house. And this tiny key is an exact replica of the key that was given to us, of our big Como key. And when this dollhouse was made, Emily has referenced and researched so many details of Como. So I think you'll all enjoy having a look at those as we go through the house. Would like you to unmute.
Can you just check that everyone's still there?
How are we going? Can everyone hear Darren?
Yep, we can hear you. Awesome.
Super. If we look up, first of all, at this chandelier, which is in our front room, we're in the first room of the exhibition now where visitors come through, and this room is called Cabinets of Wonder. And it's called Cabinets of Wonder because we are referencing those very early Dutch houses. And many people have been influenced, of course, by Queen Mary's dollhouse. If we just have a little bit of a look around the room, you can see over here we've got the Miniaturist book. We have references all through the house. So when you come through the experience, you look at dollhouses, you'll find miniatures in unexpected places, and it's all about that interplay. The premise of the show is storytelling and narrating stories. It might be an autobiographical, an aspirational story, a fantasy story. All of the houses and all of the work in the house is here because it's telling a different story. We might look at a couple of the houses in detail now. The first one is a beautiful house which has been worked on for 30 years and is ongoing. I hope everybody can have a good look and see this one. Yep. This is, has been produced by a woman called Anne Meehan, who is an expert textile artist. She's a very unassuming, very talented person, and all of the tiny cushions, all of the soft furnishings have been handmade by herself, every piece of embroidery. And it's been so lovely working with Anne because, like the rest of the world, we've been enduring and passaging through COVID, and being involved in this exhibition gave Anne the opportunity, as she said. It was something to look forward to, something to work on her miniatures, a special space to be, and to refresh parts of her house. So while she's worked on it for 30 years, it really is an ongoing project. She loves it. We all love it. Visitors love it. She has won prizes at our agricultural show, which would be like your state fair, I would imagine, for pieces of her textiles. And an absolutely lovely story. If we look down at this bottom table here, even prior to these acrylic walls being put up and the houses sealed for visitors, Anne popped in and said, I just want to check that table. I just want to reset it and just tweak it a bit more, which is just so lovely. People are investing themselves in all of these pieces. We have also, as well as these more what I call contemporary houses, we have historic houses. We have houses here from the 1880s through to contemporary times. I'll just like to show you a house over here for the moment. Right one out. And if we can just look down at this bottom room, this is hand-painted wallpaper.
Oh, wow.
And amazing furnishings. Whilst our houses date back, we think, though it's very difficult, and, I'd welcome other people's advice. It is difficult to date them exactly. We know we've got some from the 1880s, but other people have been through and said, well, the furnishings are 1860s at least. And of course, Australia being a European colony, much of this material has come from overseas. A lot has come from Germany and the UK, to a lesser degree from the States, more contemporary material. I'd also like to introduce you, while I'm here, to a wonderful artist that we've worked with, Tinky Sontag. And she's going to share some of her amazing work, which is layered throughout the house.
Hi,
Tinky.
everyone. Nice to meet you. I have been very fortunate to be invited to have 12 artworks through this beautiful exhibition. I do work with miniatures, but in a different way than normal, in that I use vintage items. I'm a big collector of vintage items as well. And so I merge the vintage with the modern day miniature. For example, a vintage compact has this little scene of a lady who's fallen over. She's hurt her knee. It's bleeding a little bit. Her friends called the paramedic and they're on their way to help her up. So each of the artworks of mine also come with a pun or a caption. And the pun for this one is, on the surface, Karen's injuries seemed cosmetic, but on closer inspection, those fears had no foundation. So it's really just a play on words, being that it's a vintage compact. Similarly, another piece here that uses a vintage fishing line reel with a couple of little fishermen on there. They're trying to reel in the fish that's imprinted on the label of the reel, but they're not having any luck. So the pun for that, no matter how hard they tried, Phil and Bob just couldn't reel this one in. So anyway, we have, I've been lucky to have some artworks throughout the Como House in similar fashion to that.
Thank you so much, Tinky. We're going to discover more of your work as we go through the house. The exhibition is multi-layered, as well as Tinky's wonderful work. There are pieces to discover. There's a trail for children, all sorts of different layers, a literature trail. It's very much for people to discover the ins that they want, to find their own way into the exhibition. We're just going to walk through into the next room now. The theme of this room is living the dream, and it's unlike our earlier material, which is Cabinets of Wonder. We've looked here at how people express themselves in the way they create their own worlds. As I've said, it's all about narrating the story. Our first house here that we'll look at is by a miniature artist from the Victorian Association of Miniature Enthusiasts, Andrea Curry. And she is extremely talented, and she has put this house together. I really wanted a 90s house, and she said, I've done one. And so whilst her work has progressed subsequently, she gives a lot of classes. She's the president of the association. She had this piece, which is almost like a time capsule for us, with a big computer. We're looking in the study now, clothing. It's so wonderful to see it. And from the trust perspective, many of the houses that we have here are a delight for our conservation architects, because we have original furnishings, original wallpapers, original floors. So we're learning a lot from these houses that have been left intact. We might move this way now. We have also the Kaleidoscope House. Actually, I should have added, the premise of the exhibition is that all of the material in here was either made in Australia, played with in Australia, brought to Australia and used. That was the overarching thing. So everything that's here has belonged to someone who's played with it here, or they've built it here, made it here. We also have the Kaleidoscope House, which I know that probably people are quite familiar with, which is a beautiful piece, which we've borrowed from a collector in Canberra, ACT, and that's come down. And for me, that was so important to have this piece in the exhibition as a contrast, a comparison between styles of dollhouse, materiality, what houses are made from, again, something that people can relate to. Yes, people have lava lamps in their own homes. The fact that artists have worked on this house and added layers into it, into the design, is fantastic. So we're really pleased, and people are enjoying seeing this one. We might just pan in here before we go into the next room, just so people have a sense of it. We're using, as I've said, Como, our life-size dollhouse, and wherever we can, we have integrated the houses and used the furnishings of the house so that it's multi-layered. So again, if we look at this window here with the face on it, so are you a doll? Are you in the dollhouse? It's interplay, it's changing disbelief, it's playing around. German house here, people will know the Gottschalk houses. This is an early one. We're in boxes. And everything has come from private collectors. And we have been so fortunate they have entrusted us with their wonderful treasures. I'd like to look at this older piece now, if we could. Barbie House. We all love this mid-century.
Yeah.
Liz might like to copy too, because we've got another one piece here. Georgie, you might just focus there just for a moment.
Ooh. Love that.
So throughout the house, there's an interplay of big and small, different scale, appearing all through the house for the visitors to discover. Some of them discover them, some don't, but that's fine. That's part of finding your own journey in. But I'd like to bring perhaps your attention over here. This is one of our earliest pieces. This is an 1880s house. And what's so special about this house is that it is intact. It appears, to one child. The house had a lock on the front, and the owner, who has it now, believes that perhaps it was locked and opened up for special occasions, special days of play. And so from our team here at the Trust, who are looking at heritage, we've got original wallpapers, original flooring, fascinating furniture, and the fact that there are no more layers on this house. You know, part of the joy, of course, of dollhouses and miniatures is that they go through the generations, and different families layer their stories over the top. But in this instance, this is how it was. And so it's absolutely extraordinary for us to see, you know, cracked windows, stained wallpapers. So this is definitely 1880s, possibly earlier, but that's the best we can date it to. We also have in this room, when Georgie turns around here, we have some material that's come from an archaeological dig and from a shipwreck. And we're so lucky to have this material. Of course, the dolls and dollhouses, being our colonial settlement, were brought from Germany and from overseas, from Europe, often coming out for the great exhibitions, which were, you know, huge trade shows. And so this ship, the Fiji, went down in 1891 off the coast down here in Victoria, and these toys and things have been salvaged. So it's interesting to see the tiny little dishes, the tiny ceramics. Of course, anything paper-based or fabric would have perished, but we're very lucky to have these. We also have on the mantelpiece, tucked away, one of Tinky's works. You might like to come and talk about this piece.
This one uses a vintage microscope, and there has been a calamitous situation here. The topic is, as the first paramedic on the scene for the second time this month, Jack knew his movements would be placed under the microscope. His confidence in the investigating team was starting to slide. So, yeah, he's a little bit worried about his career at this point in time.
Gorgeous. Let's continue up the hall. We're going to now look at what we call the back part of Mini Como, so you can actually have a look at the dolls. And you can see here the chandelier that's in the front room. This is Emily's interpretation of Como based on original furnishings and research. And as you can see, we've left it empty at the moment because there's another wonderful project going on whereby people are referencing some of our original provenance or historical furniture from the house and remaking it. So this will be a layered project where parts of Como is refurnished. You know, we have blue and red wall carpets in the house. She has checked the fireplaces, so everything is as accurate as it possibly can be. So it's very exciting that this project will now continue and we will fill the house. We might have a little peek up here. These are the sort of pieces scattered throughout the house which visitors can find. So in amongst our original fittings and furnishings, you might find a miniature. So that's been a lovely experience for visitors. What I might show you now is another project which was absolutely loved, which is the Miniature Art Challenge. I hope everybody can see this. This started off as a tiny idea which has grown and grown and grown, based on the artworks from Queen Mary's Dollhouse, which are in Imperial, I think, an inch by 1.5. You know, I discussed this with one of our board members who's involved in the Victorian Artists Societies and different watercolour societies. And so we put out an art challenge, an art prize for people to enter to create a miniature in that scale, which we would then frame and display. And initially he thought, oh, we might get about 20. Okay, it's grown to 300. It has been so fantastic. People from the States, from the UK, from India, from other European countries saw it online, you know, how these things go viral, and they've all been sending their works in. And what is so fantastic for us is that all of these works are for sale. Some of them you can see have got red dots. So they've been sold with the funds coming back in to protect our life-size doll houses. And it's been such a wonderful project. People have loved it. So you have the opportunity to purchase an original piece of work. We've got listed who the artists are, and you've got a tiny one. I know people have bought them for their doll houses and for their miniature studios and little room boxes, but other people are buying them and framing them. So it's been such a wonderful thing, and it's people have been so invested in it. I know some of these ending ones have come in from the States that arrived quite recently. Then we're going to have a look in this room, and we're going to have Tinky follow us because we've got some fantastic work of hers in here. This room, we're looking at what we're calling homegrown houses, houses that we know are manufactured here or have a story about them to the local area. And we're also going to reference some of, we might start here, Tinky, with a wonderful piece here.
Okay, this one is a scene of some kids flying their kites with their grandfather, sorry, I'll get out of the way. It's on a vintage kite reel that I've never seen before, so I snapped that one up. And the caption is, "Flying a kite wasn't exactly what Barney had in mind for his persistent wind." Sorry for the dad joke humour.
Fantastic. We might just have a look around the chat. As you know, as we've talked about We're referencing everything in the house that we can. We're using our spaces. I thought people might enjoy looking at the table setting, using some of our china and some of our original artefacts from Como House, and people have come in and reinterpreted it in a miniature form. The Terrace House, Minnie and Ruby, this is another one of our older pieces. What's been so lovely, of course, about the exhibition is, as well as the manufactured houses, there are so many that are homemade, and that is just such a lovely aspect of it. The layering, the stories of grandfathers or fathers who've returned from the war making houses, and the fact that they've gone through generations. Contemporary houses, Sydney manufacture, best toys. It's very difficult actually to find definitive information. I feel we've scratched the surface with this exhibition. It's definitely a topic to be mined, a topic to be explored. People will notice, and there's a gap here. We are waiting for the most amazing house from James Dowdall to come down. He's made an enormous Parkville Terrace. Unfortunately, our borders have been shut because of COVID, and so he's been unable to deliver it. And this has gone on and off, and now he's in lockdown. But we will get it, and anyone who follows his Instagram will have seen the amazing development of this most beautiful house. So we're waiting there. But we also have another amazing piece of Tinky's work here. Oh, sorry, I forgot that one was there.
Yes, using a silver milk jug. Of course, there's a very voluptuous volleyball player playing with their boyfriend in there, and the caption is, "Jason always appreciated playing around fine jugs." I feel like I have to apologise after reading everything.
We might have a look at this house here. This is from 1895. This dollhouse actually belonged to an eminent Melbourne bookseller called Margaret Webber, and she was given this when she was a child by her grandmother, and the current collector has acquired it. But again, for us, it is such a beautiful piece. It has interwoven with her story as the bookseller, and the fact that this is the only house that we've come across that actually has a manufacturer's label underneath. This was built or came from, we don't know whether it was actually built there, from an emporium in Paran, and it has a metal stamp affixed to it, and it's the only one that I've come across, and in my reading I haven't seen any others that we can definitively say, yes, we know where this one came from. And it's colossally heavy, this house, very, very heavy, with this sort of stucco surface over the top. It's sort of almost like a concrete thing, very, very heavy to move, but we're so pleased that we can date it and we have a manufacturer. We might just follow now down into this area, and we can't lose Tinky because we've got some amazing photos here. Good, we've got her. We might look at those first.
Okay. Okay, so hidden away in this beautiful old cabinet is a banana with a girl on top who's broken her leg. The caption is, "Bianca flipped after slipping on another banana peel. It really got under her skin. All she wanted to do was give everyone the lady finger." Yeah, and then I think there's one more up here. Again, another lady showing a little bit more skin, and the caption is, "Frida's search for a sugar daddy really exposed her raw side." A little bit more fun.
Fantastic. I'd like to take all of us into this room now, if we could. This is an installation in our scullery here at Como from VAME, the Victorian Association of Miniature Enthusiasts. And these are such a talented group. They have about 200 members. And I thought everybody would enjoy having a look at this, the different room boxes, the different way they interpret things. It's been such a treat working with them. They're a very talented group, and it's been lovely having all of them come together, explore things in different ways, produce different work. That they have group challenges that they work to, but many of them work independently on different things.
Wait, I think you have to go slow. Slow on this one. There's so much. Wow.
Can you do the little Christmas one above, maybe, Georgie?
Beautiful.
So, So we've got Christmas in July, so which is lovely.
Beautiful, thank you.
So we love the way that we were able to integrate the work within our scullery space here. And I know this, I think you had a little look in here, Georgia. I know this one's taken a very long time. The tiny, tiny pieces of haberdashery. I was at, this is actually Andrea Curry's, and I was at her house when she was winding tiny, tiny skeins of thread. Anyone who, I'm sure Darren is involved in your groups here or is watching will appreciate the detail that's gone into these things and trying to take things right back to original form. We might head upstairs for a look. So, Georgie, do you want to precede us and scan, or we could look at scale and under the stairs on our way up?
A big treat coming up. The house is just beautiful. It's hard not to be so distracted by it. Oh.
We're just stopping here on our way up and looking at an exhibition on scale, which is fascinating. Of course, many of the older houses have no scale whatsoever, and scale did seem to come in around 1924 with Queen Mary's Dollhouse. But this was a fantastic piece. We've had a Collards School of Arts, who are a student group, come in and work with us on this project. We've had all the little chairs made, again by Vane, by Andrea Curry, in all the different scales. So we have the full-size chair, right down to one which a child said to me the other day, that must be for an ant, that tiny one George is showing you, which I think just about sums it up. So this is really interesting, I think, for visitors who are not familiar with miniatures to understand scale and how some people are very precise and some are not. Georgie, we might just have a little peek in the safe while you're there. There's a little discovery that visitors love finding.
Oh, I love that. Yay.
And then we might head upstairs. Are you okay, Georgie, to proceed us up the stairs? We'll head on up. We'll discover more of Tinky's work as well as many other things. But the house is glorious, and we're seeing it very much stripped back at the moment, but we are so lucky to have a house that is provenance. The house had 3 owners, so from the 1840s, there's been several incarnations, like anyone else's own home or dollhouse.
So here we have a lovely old fossilised tooth with a couple of little fellows trying to extract the tooth. The caption for this one is, "They bristled at the thought, but Rob and Doug knew they were going to need a grinder to extract this old molar."
Great.
And we might go into that next one, Georgie, just a minute.
That house. Oh, God.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Georgie. In here, we're looking at what we've called Made with Love, and these houses have been made by people, from grandparents, or in this case, a mother for her daughter. This is a 1960s house, which we were delighted to be able to borrow, because this came from one of our prominent magazines, the Australian Women's Weekly. The pattern was in that in the 1960s, and we've come across a family who actually made it for the daughter. And again, the wallpapers are so interesting. All of the different aspects which are still intact. Many of these things have disappeared into the garage or been stored away. I have a fantastic small but fantastic team of collection staff, and so it's been a big job, of course, cleaning all of these pieces to get them in here. Every item that's come in has had to be counted, recorded, documented, photographed,
and some houses have over 300 pieces. That's been very busy. I'd like actually to direct you over to this one. This is a very interesting story. This is Uncle Tom's Dollhouse. This was made by a sea captain for his niece. And so the story goes that it was made, he was enamoured by his niece when he met her. It's from 1890. And when he was off sailing, he involved the ship's carpenters and other skilled people on the ship to build the house, and then came and presented it to her. And for us, it's absolutely wonderful. It's come from regional Victoria, so up in Manila. And again, it's a house that's remained intact. So the furnishings have remained as Jessie collected them. It's an extremely heavy house too. It was very well made on that ship. The other house over here we're going to direct you to is a repurposed child's wardrobe. And again, this is so lovely. This is what I love about this exhibition and all of these stories. Every house has a different story to share. And people have layered their own dreams, their own stories all through them. You know, what was important to them. Again, another early-ish piece, about 1910 for this one.
Really?
And the little piece in the top, which is like the little attic, actually pulls out, and that the top was used for storage, which is really lovely.
So that's actually not a dollhouse. That's a cabinet house, right? That's made from a cabinet, or?
Yes, that's correct. It is. And we've got a couple of those, but it's, yes, and it's got a lovely frontage, and it's called Little Cromler, and it's got a lovely front door, which we can't show you at the moment, of course, because we've opened it wider so we can see, but, and we're not sure why it was called Little Cromler. It's these lovely little clues. It's like a detective trail. I love this. You know, going back through the newspapers, trying to find where it may have come from, what was its origin. You know, often the family mythology is lost, or this has come through a collector. It's really is it's very sad. I often think, because I go to people's homes and I've seen some enormous houses, really enormous, which is, you know, bigger than the sofa, and then they say, oh, I'm not sure whether the children are going to be interested, and I'm sort of looking at the children thinking, I can tell you're really not interested, and then I'm not sure what's going to happen. This has been someone else's passion, and where these things are rehomed or where they end up. And we're fortunate, we've managed to borrow some that have come through generations, but through our research, we know that so many of them have been lost. There was definitely a dollhouse here at Como, because we know that Caroline Armitage, who was the mother here of the Armitage family, won in 1881. There was a big charity event for the Blind Asylum, and she won first prize for her furnished dollhouse. But we have no knowledge or information about that dollhouse, which is really very sad. But of course, it's become a legacy of changing tastes, of generational use, people just not being interested. Right. But we've had many people now come forward with their dollhouses and stories, which has been fantastic. Yeah. We might travel into another room on our journey, and I might say we also have a wonderful soundscape, which we have turned off while we're doing this, but visitors have been enjoying life in the house through the soundscape. Actually, I don't know whether we can have a good view here or not, but this would be lovely to be able to see. We're looking here at the work of another artist, and this is Anna Maria Svitko. I'm confused. Oh. Anna Maria is a miniature artist. The Shopping Sherpa is one of her posts. She's done a lot of work. I know she's had some work displayed in the States. What her main premise is that she is creating these miniature sites and views and then photographing them and posting them on social media and in other forums. And so she's sent down her images for us to use, which we're really pleased about. But we love these ones because she did a small series about the Instagram post and social life of dolls within their doll houses. So there's this wonderful layering. So this is, of course, I think it was New Year's Eve in the dolls' house. So the dolls have been posting about their own festivities, which is really fun. But her work is fantastic, and people ask all the time, oh, but this is not miniature work. But it is. It's all miniature work, and we've blown it up in the photograph, and it's that interplay of what's real and what isn't, and is it small or is it big, which is, I think, so much fun for visitors. We might just have one little peek in this bedroom, Georgie, while we can.
Can you just repeat the name of that artist again, the photographer?
Yes, or perhaps we could have a look. Should we scan in on, does that help people here?
Like a miniature. I can't read the name. Oh, Anna Maria Sviatko. Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, and she's got a blog called The Shopping Sherpa, documenting her work. We're just going to have a peek in the bedroom here. This is one of our children's bedrooms here at Como.
Oh, look at that. Oh.
And you can see here we've got a number of contemporary houses. What's fantastic, of course, is our giant Mattel Barbie house, which was the latest one with the solar panels and the wheelchair access, is almost bigger than the child's bedroom from the Como house, which we absolutely love.
I love it.
And this interplay of different styles, different materiality. And when Georgie has a chance to turn around, we have a wonderful house here that has been built by a grandmother for her grandchildren, hand making all of the furniture in a sturdy way so they have it for generations to come. And it's all of these shared stories, that experience of the family building that together. And of course, the family members have all come in to enjoy this. I'm going to steer everybody down this way. We have some spooky, dark parts to the Dollhouse story, and that's been very interesting exploring that it's not all about pleasurable things, light and colour. We've got some dark aspects. We'll leave that for the moment, but I would like to bring you into this room, which I think gives you a really clear indication of how we're trying to use the furnishings, how Como, our life-size dollhouse, is enveloping all of these smaller things. This has been a really fun piece to put together, just as installation. I don't know how well people will be able to see that, but it's just chairs upon chairs.
Oh, that's great.
And it's been so much fun, just different types of material, different shapes, different styles, different designs, scale, of course. And so much of it has been fantastic stimulation for artists. I've seen many people in here taking detailed images. It's just creating these different worlds to explore and giving people these hooks into different ways of looking at things and talking about things. For us, again, from our heritage perspective, looking at the different materials here, when plastics came in, different styles of chairs, different types of materials, sizes. It's been a really fun exercise to use it as a springboard for other discussion. We've been using our furnishings wherever we can. This is the Really Truly house. This is one from the States, metal house. Again, all from private collectors, but all used here, all acquired here, all used here. Again, I'm going to ask Tinky to come in and talk about some of her wonderful pieces.
Thank you, Annette. This little piece is on a vintage travel iron. It's showing Vera. I'll just read the caption actually. Vera didn't usually get hot under the collar, but she was steaming mad after seeing her fiancé flirt with another woman. She suspected her relationship might fold and knew she had to iron out some issues before deciding if he was husband material. So he's obviously playing up a little bit there.
That's great.
And just another one that's probably continues to be on the adult theme. It had been a shitty day for Roger, not the worst, but a solid number 2. He was in a stinking mood and just needed to wipe it from his memory. And obviously Roger's just stepped in something.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I might show, if I can, Georgie, over here. We also have the work here of Pam Sears. I've just got my curatorial gloves on so you can have a good look here. As a project, Pam has been making mid-century chairs and she's been focused on Australian designers. And now that I've got my curatorial gloves on, I'm just going to show you underneath because the chairs are actually working chairs.
Oh.
So they're all sprung and are accurate working models. You can see by the size of my hand what sort of size they are. And so she's doing a series of these. And again, this was a wonderful lockdown project for her. So people have used that time when, we've been affected by COVID. Victoria has been in lockdown. We're unable to go out except for 3 central reasons. So if you can have a look there. So unlike other models, which, may not be genuine, she is doing them absolutely accurately.
Yeah, those are nice. Really nice.
Which are really lovely. So I'll be pleased. She's got a design for another one. So she's going through Australian designers and their chairs, which is fantastic. People may have seen the Princess Elizabeth Dollhouse before. Of course, this came about from the people of Wales gave, a cubby house or a Wendy house to the then Princess Elizabeth. And from that, dollhouse manufacturers created these mini dollhouses. And in Australia, as this is a trying one, we also had our own paper one. It came out in a women's magazine. You could get coupons and put together a paper one. We might just have a little glimpse at this house on our way through. This is one that is dated, it was secondhand in 1912, but it definitely would be older than this. So can everyone have a look in there? And it comes in 3 layers, which is really interesting for us. And again, most of this has been intact from the time that the mother received it, from the grandfather. It's come through multi-generations. But there's a couple of new additions, and the current owner, who is the grandmother herself, pointed out that she was responsible when she played with it for bringing in the toaster and the little telephone. You can see just in this bottom area here, there's a tiny little toaster. So there's a couple of modern additions, which is her layering, but she said otherwise it remained totally intact.
I love the idea of layering that you're talking about.
Oh, it's been so much fun, and people sharing their stories and walking through. Are we okay to keep walking this way? We'll just walk through the dark house, or our dark story.
Yeah, I love the video that you guys produced for this portion.
I know, so much fun.
Yeah.
We'll keep walking through because there's a bit of noise, and we'll continue on.
Let's have a lot of dolls.
Oh, unless I don't know how well you can see this piece. Another artist.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Wow.
She stays there.
Oh, so we're hearing the film that you created, right? Yeah.
Yes, Joel Zeiker created a montage of film. As you know, I don't need to be talking to our experts here who are all watching, who knows, but the horror genre and the crime genre has become such a fertile ground for doll houses and exploring the miniature, that contrast between domestic and crime. So yes, this is a little glimpse, but we've got a content warning here for people, so just in case.
Yeah.
We'll continue our little tour through the house. We're going to end up at Emily.
We're getting some signal challenges right now. I don't know if it's because we're going to a different part of the house. We might need to stay in. We're back. You're back. We're having.
I'm back. Let's pop into that.
Go ahead.
We might finish here. Emily, who we've mentioned, who built us little Como, has of course her own practice, little architecture. And I thought people might enjoy seeing some of her tiny, tiny miniatures. I don't know how close you can get in there. I'm always very nervous doing this.
I would be. So that's Emily's work as well.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's fabulous. Yeah, oh yeah, that's some of the photographs that you're using to promote the show are of that work, of that also.
That's right. And our image behind is, of course, that work table. Mm-hmm. And so when you see those tiny, tiny scissors that are on Emily's table here.
Wow. Just wow. Oh, also the side. That's good. Yeah, that's heavy.
It is heavy. And we do fix them down, so so people can't move them. But so I thought you'd enjoy looking in here. And we also have footage of Emily building things on her design process, of how she's used the 3D printer, how she's produced things, how she puts them together. You know, of course, there's a lot more on her own site on Little Architecture, but she's put these pieces together for us, showing our visitors how she's worked together to put Como together. It's been a wonderful journey for people to see it from plan stage through to completion.
I bet. Yeah.
And we might finish up just down in what we call, Liz, we might have you talk about your piece.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Ooh, what room?
Okay. We have one more piece. This is Herb. Herb's working on a set of teeth. Herb felt like a bit of a deal. He felt like a bit of a deal. He wasn't confident he'd be able to remove this pesky sprig of parsley by himself. It was going to take time, but he wasn't sure he had the palate for it. So just trying to squeeze in as many words with double meaning possibly can.
Thank you very much, Tinky.
Thank you.
The space that we're in now is what we call our occupation space. And so periodically we have miniature artists come in here and demonstrate. So it's a live occupation. This was again put together, talked to various artists about what was really in the studio. They are an interior studio as well. And then we have actual people working here, which has been so lovely. And just, if we just look over here, this is a very, very interesting house that we have borrowed.
Yep.
This is from 1917.
Yep.
And it's made of what we call tin tiles that line. It was made by a father who returned, I think, early from the war, so obviously had some injuries. The house was found in the garden with a rose growing through it. The house wall fabric had all survived. The roof had to be replaced. And it could be, of course, that people, you know, soldiers were repatriated and learnt different skills. So it's possibly this was a skill that was learned in hospital, or it was a project that he undertook for his family as he was recuperating from illness. So each, as we've talked about, each house has the most wonderful story running through it, and they've all been selected for a reason. And each one, if I feel we had more time, this is someone's PhD, to springboard off into this wonderful area. We've got the artisans making things, we've got the houses with the stories, we've got the houses leading us into fabrics, into interiors, into architecture, into design, into collecting. We haven't even talked about collecting. I mean, how many houses is too many houses?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any number. So it's so, so wonderful. So we might head down again. Question.
Yeah.
Is there anything, Darren, that you think people may like to ask us, or you may? I feel we're giving you such a whirlwind, and I do apologise. We're whizzing you around the space.
No.
Showing you things. Is there anything that we can do for you?
It's such a big show, and it's, you know, you've really captured so much and with such a broad range of miniatures. It's not just houses, it's all miniatures that you've been able to capture so wonderfully. And, you know, one of the questions I have is, when did you start? Because I can only imagine, and I want to acknowledge, you know, we know as miniaturists what it takes to even put one show together, one dollhouse, put one dollhouse up, let alone an entire show. So when did you start? How long did it take? When did you start ideating around this? I mean, and talk a little bit about the inspiration behind it. What made you decide to do something this big? Yeah, we're having a little Wi-Fi challenge right now, so it might be that room or that area.
Inspiration.
That area of the house. So, yeah, let's go back to where it was good.
We head downstairs. We might have better Wi-Fi. We'll walk downstairs. It's
getting better already. Perfect. But yeah, I mean, you know, just a little bit about the inspiration. You know, how long have you been working on this? How long did it take? I mean, I have questions.
Good.
guys-
We love questions.
Guys who are in the chat
Yes,
box.
I'd say probably 8 months. It's going to be sweet.
Yeah, it's better.
Oh, and what about the Wi-Fi in here? What's that one like?
Good.
How are we going Wi-Fi? Good?
Yeah.
Excellent. The exhibition, I'd say, took about 8 months. Of course, I have a fantastic team of some collection staff and others, and Georgie and her team and all the marketing team. And really the whole impetus for this exhibition was coming to Como. So I started with the Trust last year, just before we had the lockdown. My team bringing me in, and we were talking about how we were changing the rooms to tell different stories. And I said, I feel like we're in the doll's house. Yeah. And it was so much like a doll's house. We've stripped the house right back, but it's very richly furnished. So when people come, when it's not the doll's house exhibition, the furnishings are exquisite in their own right. And so that was the impetus. And then, of course, people contacting us about miniatures, and I started having a little feel about what was going on, and it was word of mouth. And so we got on from one collector to another, and we were so fortunate. It's been such a wonderful group to work with. We have so loved this experience. Just the miniature artists, the Dollhouse collectors, so generous with their knowledge, so generous with their skill sharing. It's been an absolute treat. Yeah. And for most people, you know, I know I've referenced this before, but during COVID and the lockdown, it gave people something to really look forward to. I had a lot of correspondence from people saying, we're loving this, we're researching the family house, or we're tinkering and we're fixing things. We've involved multi-generations in the project. We've had multi-generations involved in, you know, grandsons are cleaning, grandsons are carrying, grandsons are investigating again, other people are going off researching. It's been a most wonderful project in that way. And I'm so hoping we can harness all of that information. But in terms of pulling it together, yes, you're absolutely right, Darren, and I know you do miniature shows, but for the Trust, for the National Trust, we have a strong insurance policy, we have collections and loan agreements, so every piece in the house had to be documented. So every single thing that has come in has had to be documented, either listed, photographed, valued. So it's been an enormous project behind the scenes to then bring them into the house and work out the design. And we've got our soundscapes, and we've got a discovery trail, and all of the other pieces. And what we haven't even had a chance to talk about today was we have a whole Minecraft experience, because of course people are not only using physical doll houses or enjoying them, their room boxes in a physical sense, they're using them in a virtual sense. And we know there's a whole genre out there, multi-generational people. So we've worked with the producers of The Sims, and we've had 2 fantastic teenage boys develop a Minecraft experience, and people can come on and join the build, and they are adding to the build around Como. And that's been fantastic. And we update that all the time, but I didn't have the chance to show you all that one, but that is up there too. So all of this, it's such a wonderful project. I can see why everyone's totally addicted to it. I am too now, as well as probably everyone in the Trust.
Does a catalogue exist of all the individual exhibits?
No, it doesn't. We talked about whether we would do that or not, but each of our object labels has a QR code, so people can deep dive. We have talked about that, whether we should produce that, and I know a number of the collectors said to me, oh, will you do the definitive book on Australian doll houses? But we just don't have the capacity. Yeah. But it's a wonderful project for someone else to do. And also it's so scattered. There could be no definitive book. There never could be, but it is so, and the visuals are so beautiful.
Yeah. We did have a question about how can folks acquire or get in on the purchase of some of those little paintings? Can you do that outside of Australia? And how do you?
Yes, you could.
Are they listed on the website?
There will be a booklet for those coming out, and yes, you definitely could. So we can talk to Georgie about that, and she can arrange that. There's an order form, and they start at a minimum price of $50 Australian, and people are adding donations if they choose to. Yeah. Yes, they can absolutely do that, Darren. So that's an easy one. Good, we can answer that one.
Yeah, I know, that's great. All right. I mean, I think I'm just scrolling through real quick to see if there's any other questions. Guys, if you have any last remaining questions while we wrap up our Meet the Miniaturist and let these guys get to their day. Are you actually open today? Are you showing?
Yes, we are. We've ducked into this room because visitors have started coming in. We want to keep the sound down for you, so we've ducked this room. But yes, we are open today. We're open 7 days a week.
Wow.
Which is fantastic, and the exhibition has been well received, so we're really, really pleased. People are enjoying it.
This has been a wonderful treat. Thank you so much. Thank you to you, your team, the National Trust. This has been such an amazing experience, such a wonderful show. And yes, thank you so much for treating us with this today.
Well, thank you, Darren. We've been so pleased to work with you on this, and thank you to everybody for tuning in. I know we're talking to people who are converted enthusiasts, but it's such a wonderful topic, and we've just scratched this today.
I know it's just a taste, but thank you so much. This has been awesome. Thank you guys at home for watching. Thank you guys. Enjoy your day. And thank you again, everybody. Have a great day or night. Bye.